right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Brett Klein. We'll have more people joining momentarily, but I am Brett Klein, and I am with Eisenhower in our educational department and public relations. And I'm excited for today's topic because it's one that is personally interesting to me, as all dietitian kind of stuff is, but this one is eating locally grown food. I live next to a farmer's market in Palm Springs, and I'm always amazed at the things that I find there. And then I always have to question, it's like, oh, how is this different than the store? How is this, So this is going to be the perfect answer to a lot of these questions. And so just in a couple of our format things, this is being recorded, as you heard. Everybody is currently, mic is turned off as well as camera, so that we don't have to edit you out. However, we will feel free to use the chat feature to ask questions during the lecture. And as we go along, unless Johanna says, hey, let's take a question, we will open up questions live at the very end and we can unmute and do that kind of thing. So with that in mind, I am going to turn it over to Johanna Roberts, and she'll tell you more about her background. And I'm just always thrilled to work with our dietitian team because they always bring the best and the brightest to every topic and things that I'm always just amazed at what we hear. So let me just add one more person in the room and we'll get going. Joanna, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good morning. Like I said, my name is Johanna Roberts. I am a registered dietitian nutritionist. Currently, my role is inpatient here at Eisenhower Health. But prior to starting here at the hospital, I actually spent quite a bit of time with our local farmers market. So big fan for many years, but back in 2018, I got to work with our local farmers market, work with the farmers, do a lot of nutrition education. And so this is also a subject that I'm very personally passionate about and really enjoy and am excited to share with you. So we're going to talk about some of the benefits of eating locally grown food. And so, of course, people go, what? Do we live in the desert? What do you mean local food, right? But it's amazing the different things that are available for us here in Southern California. And so I'm going to go over some of the ways where you can find these foods and what it really means to shop at the farmer's market and who you'll find there. So our overview today, I always want to start with a description, right? What is a certified farmer's market? How do the farmers in the community benefit from these markets? I'm a dietitian, so of course we're going to talk a little bit about some nutrition recommendations and how we're going to tie eating locally into that. Some of the nutritional benefits when we do shop and eat local foods. Some tips for shopping at the farmer's market, in case you haven't quite been and need a little bit of guidance to do your best when you're there. And then, of course, I think very vital information, some of the locations of the markets here in the Coachella Valley. So what is it? What does it mean if a market is certified? So it actually does have a definition. It is different from perhaps a roadside stand. It means that a local agricultural commissioner is certifying that the fact that the producer is selling only their own fruits and vegetables directly to consumers. So that means that at a certified market, you'll never find somebody reselling from another farm or reselling from a store, anything like that. You can be assured that the grower, the farmer, is the one providing the food. And this is important for a variety of reasons. It gives us the sourcing of where the food comes from. It gives better idea of food safety. And it also lets you know that you're getting the freshest and the best food available. Who runs these organizations, right? So you can't just take a farmer's market out of your pocket and place it anywhere. There's a lot of regulations to them. And again, that goes back to allowing us to feel safe and comfortable with the food that's being supplied. So a certified farmer's market, it could be operated by the local government, a certified producer themselves, so the farmer, or a nonprofit organization. Why would I want to shop at the farmer's market? There's so many personal reasons, but there's also reasons that benefit the others that are involved. So farmers really benefit from you shopping with them because it allows them access to outlets, to people like you who have high demand for these tree ripened, vine ripened, this produce that isn't really going to last through the shipping processes that regular grocery store food is. It allows for access to immediate cash payment. So what that means is there's not a big delay in the farmers having access to the finances from selling their foods, which was really beneficial for them financially. It lets them sell heirloom, antique, or really specialty crops. So you're going to find foods that you will not find at the grocery store because they wouldn't withstand the shipping processes. So you're going to find foods that are very fresh, that may be a little more fragile than you're used to, and that maybe you've never seen before. It also allows them to sell much smaller quantities. So there's a lot of regulations over the quantities and the amounts of foods that are going through our commercial grocery stores, which farmers do not have to follow. Some more farmer benefits. So again, the certified producers, they don't have to follow some of those state regulations that require really strict packing, labeling, size, and grading standards. This does not take away from the quality in any way. It just allows for a lot more options for different varieties of foods that wouldn't be able to withstand the longer time periods, the storage, the shuffling that happens at our regular grocery stores. So because of those exemptions, you're going to find some of the freshest products. You're going to find some of the most amazing foods available in Southern California at these certified farmers markets. Here I am, the community benefits. So not only are the farmers benefiting from you shopping at the market, our community as a whole is. So when you spend money at these certified farmers markets, the money stays within our community, within our Southern California community. It's not going off to the main headquarters or corporations that it would otherwise. You're going to have people spending this money, right, on their own groceries, on their gas to get here, on their mortgages, on their bills here. So all the money gets to stay within Southern California, which is incredibly beneficial for our own community. We are able to do things like grants, educational opportunities, field trips, nutrition education for our public schools. So because of the benefits of the finances staying within the state, creating local grants, we can provide education, which can be really vital and really important is for the children within our communities to learn how to eat well, set themselves up for a good future. There's lots of matching programs, so not every single market does this, but quite a few have matching programs so that those who have state assistance, things like electronic benefits, WIC, the Women, Infants, Children, they can take those benefits to the market and get additional funds. So that allows for more access to fresh fruits and vegetables, which is exactly what we want to help increase our own nutritional intake, our own quality of life. It also really helps reduce pollution. So if people are coming from 100 miles or less, we're going to reduce the overall pollution that our food system creates. And we know that trucking, shipping things in, it takes a lot of energy. And so if we're able to minimize that and eat the foods that are closer to us, it increases the beauty of our area because we're reducing that pollution. So for both the farmers and the community, I think one of the greatest things, and I'm sure many of you have experienced this, is that it's an incubator to help grow small businesses and connect with local restaurants and chefs. So wonderful, suddenly our local restaurants have all this access to really amazing food that is then prepared in a beautiful way and served to you locally. It also allows for small businesses to grow, to thrive, and become their own larger, what is it, brick and mortar, as opposed to just being at the market. So there's some interesting examples that you may have experienced. There's delicious sourdough bread and flours. They started at the farmer's market. They now have a location in Palm Springs. Canyon Creek mushrooms. They now have a large location down here. La Artisan Valley Baking Company. They're one of the several companies that have grown because of their chance to work at the farmers markets and grown in popularity and able to create a business out of that. So that allows us to have even more frequent access to some of these amazing foods. So kind of switching gears into, okay, it's great for the farmers, it's great for the community. How is this great for me? Why do I want to do this, right? Well, back in the day, we had a pyramid, right? But now our USDA guidelines for eating well, for healthy eating, it's a plate. You might notice that this beautiful little plate, half of it is fruits and vegetables. And so the recommendation for most of us is each time we eat, about 3 meals a day, half of that we want to be really low calorie, high nutrient vegetables and fruits. So what's one of the best ways to do that? By having access to fruits and vegetables that taste really good, that we're going to enjoy and consume on a regular basis. What is the difference? There is nothing wrong with eating food from other grocery stores, but you might notice a big difference in taste for some of these foods. So locally grown food is full of flavor. So the biggest difference is that these crops, they're picked at their very peak of ripeness, and then they're brought directly to the market. So a lot of times it's been less than a day. Sometimes they even pick things that morning, less than 24 hours since some of these things have been taken off of the tree or the vine wherever they've been growing. This makes a huge difference in the desire to consume these types of foods. So if I'm supposed to be eating, around 3 servings of vegetables a day, 2 servings of fruits, it's going to be really beneficial and it's going to help me a lot if the food tastes delicious, if I have a lot of flavor with it, if I'm going to be enjoying it. So by shopping locally, by eating foods that have not been out of the ground or off the vine for very long, I'm increasing the flavor, I'm increasing my desire to consume these, and therefore helping myself get to those daily nutritional values that can be difficult to meet sometimes on the regular if you're not very conscious about it. So again, not to say other foods do not have nutrients, but there's lots of science showing that the time of harvest and the time you're eating, there is some decrease in the nutritional value, right? So some of those vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, some of the vitamins that we know are good for us, they'll decrease in value the more the food sits. And so if I'm able to choose foods that have not been sitting very long, I'm going to have a higher nutritional value in the food that I'm eating. So not only is it tasting better, it's looking good, I know that the food that I'm eating is going to have a good nutritional value to it. So foods imported from faraway states. So if you think about most places have to have foods imported from other places that are warmer, like how we are, where there's more availability during the year. They have to pick those foods quite a while before they are ripe. So that takes away some of the goodness that happens from fully ripening on the vines or the trees. They also have to travel. So they'll have to travel, they'll have to be distributed, and then they'll get to the store where you'll pick them. So several steps in between will possibly take away some of the really full nutrients and the full flavor that those foods have the possibility of having them if you're accessing them in a much shorter time period, like you will if you go to a certified farmer's market. Why else would I want to? What would be the benefit of eating the foods that are grown around me when they're being grown, as opposed to something shipped in from somewhere with different weather? Well, as you see by my beautiful rainbow here, right? When I'm choosing foods that are in season, I'm gonna get a lot more variety in. I'm gonna get different colors, I'm gonna get different types. All of the different colors and types of foods have their own special nutritional makeup, right? So some have very similar, some have different. If I'm constantly having a rotation of different types of foods and different nutrients, I'm going to get a more complete nutritional balance during my year. Where as opposed to if I eat strawberries only all year long because that's my favorite, right? If I'm having strawberries, if I'm having tomatoes, if I'm having oranges, I'm putting all these different types of foods into my diet as they're available near me, I am automatically choosing to have a good variety. So we know that if we're eating foods that are seasonal, that's their peak of ripeness. That's when they're going to taste the best, and that's when they're going to have that highest nutritional value. So we want to eat our rainbow, and it's easy to do that when we eat the foods that are accessible to us at the time that they're being grown. It can also be helpful for your budget. So there's lots of different thoughts on the price of shopping at the farmer's market, right? Just like anywhere, there's going to be things more expensive than others. There's going to be very special varieties that maybe are pricier, but there also are just our standard fruits and vegetables that you can then buy in whatever quantity that you need. So one of the best things is that you don't have to buy a large bag of food. You don't have to buy 20 carrots, right? You can get the amount of food that you need that's going to be good for that short period of time, because I want to eat it within a short amount of time from when it was picked, when it was packed. I'm going to be able to purchase this item. Again, we're directly purchasing from the family farm, from the producer. So there's no middle person to be taking any sort of cut from that, right? So that a lot of times reduces the cost because there's no one else being paid about it. It's just for the farmer. We're also able to help, again, keep the money within our own economy, which is incredibly important. And that in turn generally helps with our own budget because we're keeping money within our community. Keeping money within our community can help keep those prices down. A really big one too is it can help reduce some of those impulse buys, you know? So sometimes when we're at our big grocery stores, we see lots of other items, whether they're food items or non-food items, packaged foods. We don't have a lot of that noise when we're at the market. The majority of the food is going to be fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. So we can kind of put our mind at ease that we can just pick up the things that we needed and not have too many others. And a lot of times that helps us with our overall grocery budget. One of my most favorite things about shopping at the farmer's market is how many different unique, culturally specific, or just varieties that you will not find anywhere else. So if you have a really special recipe that you want to try, or a recipe from your family, or things that you maybe haven't tried before, one of your best options to find those foods in our area is going to be at the farmer's market, because there's going to be a lot of specialty fruits and vegetables you won't see otherwise. The huge benefit of that, especially if it's a food that's new to you, is that you get to speak with the growers, you get to speak with the farmers, and they have incredible knowledge on the food they're growing, the best way to store the food, the best way to prepare the food, recommendations for cooking options or foods that they pair well with. So it really can help ease some of maybe the hesitation of trying something new or picking up something that you don't know what it is, by just asking, what is this? How does it taste? What do I want to eat it with? What would that pair well with? And it's amazing the amount of information you can get. And so that really helps to expand your horizons as far as what kind of food you enjoy and what you want to try, and therefore increasing some of the different nutrients that you're putting into your diet. So what's really great for us in Southern California specifically is that we really don't have to wait all year for most things, right? So you may have heard this before, microclimates. California has quite a few microclimates. And what that basically means is it's small areas where the weather is very unique to that region. So generally, the markets, the farmers, are within about 100 miles of the Coachella Valley, right? So from all different directions. Within that 100 miles, there are different areas with different temperatures. And because of this, we're able to receive so much variety during the year because different fruits and vegetables will be growing in those areas. Some are colder, some are warmer, some have more rain. So this gives us so many options. And so you won't be without. There's still so many things available during the year. And again, you can ask your farmer, you can ask your grower, is this in season or when is it in season? You know, I know for me, potatoes are my favorite, but you can't really find them in the summer, but that's okay, right? So I get to enjoy them during the more winter time. and then it switches over and find other things that we enjoy during the summertime. And it's just one of the natural switches. But again, if we think about even summer foods, right? Not a lot of potatoes, too much included. So you get to eat more seasonally, you get to enjoy the variety. And because of all these microclimates, you have so many options here. That's my little one. She loves the market. So shopping tips. I know sometimes people tell me, Johanna, I'm a little intimidated, right? There's some things don't have prices. There's a lot of farmers. It's really busy. Deep breaths. It's okay. Pick your time. If there's something that's super important to get, you want to get there early. You want to try to get there within the first hour of them opening. And that will allow you most likely to get the thing you really have your heart desiring. If you are more like, I kind of want to see what's left, I like to sleep in, then go near the end. This is when the farmers, the producers are a little more lenient. They want to get rid of the things that are on their tables. They might have a little more time for chatting. So choosing your time can be really essential if that's important to you about either getting something or having a little more space while you shop. So the morning is always going to be busier, it's going to be fuller, there's going to be everything available. Whereas the afternoon is going to be a little calmer. People are going to be trying to get rid of the rest of their food, and you might have a little more breathing room around you. I always recommend when you get to the market that you do a loop. So it can be very tempting to see the very first place, get everything there, but then you go to the next one, you go, those berries look a little better to me. If you have the time, take a little walk. Do a loop around, see what people have. If it's important to you, compare prices, compare quality. A lot of times there'll even be samples. You can see, hey, this berry was better than the other. That gives you some more choices while shopping and helps you feel like you're really getting the most value for your funds. Another thing that I find to be incredibly useful when you're shopping at the farmer's market is bringing your own bags, bringing a basket, bringing a wagon. So farmers will have plastic bags. If you get a lot, they'll share their boxes. But reducing waste is important to me when I'm doing my grocery shopping. And so when I can, I try to bring my favorite reusable bags, whether that's a cooler bag, my big market basket. When I'm doing my big shop, I bust out a wagon, and so feel free to bring the things that make you feel comfortable with shopping and also allow you to preserve the quality of the foods you choose. So the worst is to get some beautiful tomatoes, but then you accidentally set some squash on top of them, right? And you come home and they're squished. So it's like you can bring whatever is going to make the most sense. Maybe you have your own food preservers that you put things in. Maybe you like to put things in jars. But by giving yourself a good strategy plan based on how much food you're going to get, you're going to help preserve the quality and the food's going to look the best when you get home. Because of course we know at the grocery store, these things have packages, they have plastic, they have different ways to help keep them safe on the transport. So just keep in mind, if you're getting something fragile, if you're getting lots of things, it can be beneficial to bring your own packaging and reuse that. The other thing that can really beneficial and keep things moving quickly for everyone is bringing cash. So, of course, we live in the day of electronics, credit cards. Most people accept that. But bringing small bills, bringing change, bringing your pocket of quarters, these things can be helpful for both you and the farmer. It's going to keep things moving quickly. A lot of times you'll get the best deal when using cash. And it helps the farmer by reducing those credit card fees, right? And so any way that we can make things easier for the transaction can be really helpful. Not to say that if you don't bring cash, you can't do it, but it's just if you're preparing, you're getting ready to go, that can be really helpful. Look out for deals. So again, you don't have to buy the first thing you see. Likely it won't be snapped up too fast unless it's the last one. But you'll often see, especially things like the apples or some kind of tomatoes or the ugly foods, right? So they'll have their seconds. And these can be dramatically cheaper. So based on what you plan to do with the foods, it can be beneficial to get some of those B fruits, right? And then you get both a deal and you're helping to reduce food waste by not letting those go to waste because they didn't quite make the perfect cut for the full price. Ask questions. Nobody minds. So if you're shy, don't be. They love it. They love for you to be curious about them. They love for you to ask about their foods. Take advantage. You have an expert in front of you of these foods. Many of these farmers, producers, this was their family farm. This is something they've grown up with. They're very familiar. They can help you identify foods you've never seen before. They can help you figure out how to cook and store them. Again, help you with complementing your meals. It can be very fun to have these conversations and to feel more comfortable. Because of course we can all do a Google search, we can look at recipes.com, but getting that in-person feedback is incredibly valuable when you're trying to explore new foods and find out the best way for yourself to prepare them. And it kind of takes away some of the scary that come with buying those things. Um, Keep an open mind. So remember, it's local foods. It depends on season. It depends on what's available. Try to be open to modifications. I always tell people go to the market with a wish list, right? So your grocery list sometimes is a bit of a wish list, depending on what time you're going, what season it is. And even ask the farmer if you need to, hey, I came for this exact thing. I don't see it. What else would work in this situation? And be open to those modifications because that's going to make the experience that much more enjoyable if you're not really stuck on the one item that you're looking for. And then of course, make friends. It's really fun to introduce yourself, to get to know the people that you're buying your food from. This helps you get the tips. A lot of times the farmers and producers, they'll remember you, they'll help you save your favorite items. You can even sometimes coordinate pre-ordering foods so that they're available for you whenever you are able to make it, because I know not everyone can get there by 8 in the morning. You can get personal recommendations. And I find for me, if I'm like, Mario grew these tomatoes for me, right? Like I'm less likely to let that food go to waste when I have a personal connection with it and I know all the value and all the effort that went into that food being at my house. So, where can I go, right? So what's been really amazing just over the past 2, 3 years is we now have markets throughout the valley from Wednesday to Sunday during our not so hot season. So 5 days a week, there's a farmer's market. This is awesome because then depending on what part of the valley that you're in, you have easier access to that location. It also helps from feeling like you need to overbuy. You can just buy the food that you need and know that it's going to be available again within the next few days. Help you plan for when you're having parties or guests, right? You don't have to get things far in advance. And again, contribute to the fact that you're going to eat the food very close to the time that it was picked or brought to you to keep that high nutritional value. We even have a summer market. So there's only one that I know of so far that there's been, but that's every Saturday in Palm Springs. So even when it's incredibly hot out, you can go to the indoor farmers market, air conditioned, and get some access to this great food because, oh my gosh, the fruit in the summer is just amazing. So some different locations. Right now, there are 2 different organizations in our valley that provide farmers market for us. So the original farmers market is going to be run by the Palm Springs Cultural Center, which is a nonprofit. Those right now have 2 locations. So during our season, we have the Palm Springs location. Many of you may be familiar with this one. It's at the Camelot Theaters, right across from the Palm Springs High School. And then once it gets nice and warm in June, they switch over and they go just kind of diagonal across the street to the Palm Springs Pavilion, and that's the indoor market. It's the same organization, same farmers. They just scooch right inside. The other one that the Palm Springs Cultural Center runs is the Palm Desert Market. So this one's moved around. Any of you have been following the markets, this one's kind of moved a few, but theirs is now at Sundays. Sunday mornings from 8 to 1. And that's actually right next to the Palm Desert Chamber of Commerce across from like Whole Foods and the mall. You're always going to see a little sign somewhere that'll say market this way, right? So follow the signs, you'll be able to find it. Those are the two from the Palm Springs Cultural Center. Just in the past few years, we've had a new organization come up. So the Coachella Valley Certified Farmers Market. This is great because they actually created 4 new locations. So we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday from them, from Rancho Mirage, Indian Wells, Palm Desert, as well as the original Old Town La Quinta one. So this gives a lot of different access, and you will find that a lot of the farmers are the same at these different markets, right? So although they're run by different organizations, you can still find your favorite farmers at them. Whoever you decide to support, it's wonderful. Those are going to give you a lot of access. The only really big difference between these two markets is for those who receive those electronic benefits or the CalFresh benefits, you will have access to additional funds by going to either the Palm Springs or the Palm Desert, Palm Springs Cultural Center market. So they will provide, right now they have grants that allow for extra access to produce. So that would be really the main difference for those right now. But other than that, you have all these different locations all throughout the valley from Wednesdays to Sunday, all the way through until it gets super hot. And then we got to jump inside when we have Palm Springs. So just knowing that you'll have access to these, that they are available, and and that follow the small signs, and you'll see the tents, you'll see the setup, and you'll be able to find them. So hopefully you'll be able to get out there in the next few weeks while it's this beautiful spring weather and explore whatever market is closest to you or most convenient for your weekly shopping. Well, anybody have any questions now?
Yeah, we have one. Oh, that's amazing. And didn't know the hours. So now that definitely helps. I always pass it and I think, oh, I should have gone. So Joanne, one of the questions that came in the chat, do you have a resource for finding out what is in season in the Coachella Valley other than seeing them at a farmer's market? You know, if there's things, I don't know.
That's a really good question. As far as I know, there's not like a large consensus database of what is available. I would definitely recommend checking in at the market and asking some of the farmers if there's certain produce that you're interested in, and they will know exactly when it is in season, because of course it's something growing, it's a fruit and a vegetable, so it may not be exactly on a timeline.
Got it. Absolutely. And this all helps with meal. I think the comment there was also it helps with meal planning. You know, trying to figure out what they, you know, recipes and meal and making some of those things and choices. Speaking of meal planning, how does that work in the sense of what would you recommend to the audience about trying to be a healthier diet, what that looks like? And I think you're right. When you go to a grocery store, you know, you're prompted by all these fabulous little discount, sale kind of coupon things. And then you buy things that you weren't necessarily the healthiest, or heavy sodium, or things that are just, as you said, been sitting for a while. Do you have any recommendations for how people can kind of plan a little more?
Definitely. So depending on how many times during the week you plan to shop, would be help me gauge what type of produce I'd want to get. So a lot of times I'll be like, get some of the more sensitive things, right? The tomatoes, strawberries, the berries that you know you're going to eat within the first day or two. And then have in mind some of the hardier things that will last further into the week that you don't have to eat immediately. Maybe like things like squash, butternut squash, or potatoes, your carrots, your celery, some of those hardier vegetables. So keep in mind when you think you're going to eat it and kind of even it out so that you don't get a bunch of piles of bok choy or whatever it is with no plan. So trying to do that. Also trying to have plant-based meals. So this does not mean going fully vegan or avoiding meat products. It just means that I'm going to focus the food over what type of fruit or vegetable I'm eating. So even something as simple as like, I would like to have Italian one, right? Well, maybe I pick then a spaghetti squash, and then my spaghetti squash is going to be the star of the show, and I'm going to have that be the majority of what I'm eating, and try to complement that with other flavors or with a meat product if I want to. You can also think of what foods would be easy for me to prepare at the beginning of the week that I can consume throughout it. So if I know that I'm using onions and bell peppers all week long, then maybe I buy 2 or 3 of those and I'm able to chop them up, have them in the fridge, and add them as I go. So thinking of when am I going to eat this food, about how much do I think I'm going to eat, and do I even have a vague idea of even the theme of the meal so that I can get the correct type of foods to go along with that. So that can be really helpful because I know even personally, sometimes I'll accidentally overbuy because something looks amazing. So trying to just calm yourself. It's not so exciting, I know, but get just what you think you're going to need and that you think you're realistically going to eat within the next few days, because that's when it's going to taste the best and be the best quality product.
Great. Let's see. It says where I used to live in Northern California, my local hospital used to host a small farmers market once a week. Does Eisenhower ever do something similar?
As far as I'm aware, that is not one of the programs that we run. But again, as I said, it's many people think you could just pull the farmer's market out of your pocket, right? But there's a lot of different nuances to that. People need to have business license, people need to be a certified grower. There needs to be a location that has been approved based on different types of safety, availability, space. And so because of all these nuances to creating a farmer's market, as well as the large amount of labor to run them, it's something that it takes quite a bit of work and somebody very dedicated to do. So luckily, we have quite a few, even today's Wednesday, right? So we have a farmer's market just down the street from us in the same location as that Palm Desert Sunday market across from the mall by the Palm Desert Chamber of Commerce that's available till 2 o'clock. So very close to Eisenhower. There's also one down the street tomorrow in Indian Wells off of Fred Waring. So there's many located around our hospital. Honestly, I don't think we have the space over here. We fill up on parking pretty quick, and there's so many medical necessity to have the space and for it to be clear at the hospital that I don't think that's something that will be done anytime soon. But I love the thought.
All right. Now let's go ahead and have people feel free to unmute. And if you have a question to ask, please do so. Or if Jack Newby, if you're on the line, I believe you are, if you could talk about the Joslin Center, and maybe if you know of other of the senior centers in this valley that have food-related programs, that would be helpful as well.
Well, thank you, Brett. And I really am grateful to see the number of people that are attending this. I changed my diet, more fruits and vegetables and reducing carbs and that sort of thing. So, and it's really helped. I do want to mention the Joslin Center has, for those that are interested, and especially with the higher food prices, we have a free farmers market. It's not as extensive as some of the ones that were mentioned in this lecture, but that's on the second and fourth Fridays from 9 to 10:30. And then we also have our food bank, Penny's Pantry, and that's dry goods and canned goods, and that's on the first and third Friday from 7:30 to 9:30. And then also, I believe the Cathedral City Senior Center has a Monday food distribution and fresh fruits and vegetables. And of course, and you know more about it than I do, the Gay and Lesbian Center in Palm Springs has a large food distribution program. So those are the ones that come off the top of my head. And I certainly, encourage everyone that if you can, pay attention to those fresh fruits and vegetables.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jack. Go ahead. We had a hand raised. Feel free to unmute and ask a question.
Hi, this is Audra. Sorry, I've been so chatty today, but I've been looking forward to this Zoom for a while. I wanted to ask kind of a weird question. I have metastatic cancer, and energy levels are sometimes a pretty big concern. So doing a lot of walking is hard. Do you know of a service of someone that can go and do the shopping for you at a farmer's market? I know that sounds like a really privileged thing to ask, but it can be hard to do on my own, so I often don't get there when I want to.
That's a great question. And an amazing business idea. As far as I know at the
Right?
moment, generally the only thing that I see maybe close to that is when personal chefs are there at the market getting things for their clients. So that is actually maybe an outlet you would look at. The other maybe more practical solution, I would
Mhm.
say when you do have the energy, you kind of take the time to do a small round and get communication with some of their favorite farmers, and they will actually a lot of times prepare something for you and bring it out to
Oh,
your car. So if you
that's a
get
good
that
idea.
connection with somebody, they're
Yeah.
able to kind of know what you want and have it ready for you and bring it out. And that's definitely something that
Okay.
I see happen a lot, especially during the summer market, because the heat is a big
Yeah.
difficulty for a lot of our citizens. So that is
Yeah.
definitely a thought. The other thing is if you can find a buddy or a friend maybe that you trade off with and they're
Right.
able to kind of help facilitate with that. But definitely it can be a privilege to make it there and for the physical demands of the
Sure.
actual type of shopping.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and on that note, so the two things. So if you were attending like the as Jack mentioned, the LGBTQ centers farmers market or their farmers market, their food bank and that kind of stuff on a Thursday, they actually, you don't have to attend there. They will actually take your name and do all the things for you once you register, and they will deliver it to your home. So they have that from their
Amazing.
perspective. You just have to check with the center. And then
Okay.
I think the other thing too is feel free to reach out to the Palm Springs Cultural Center on their website and email. They're incredibly direct and work with the public. That's their whole mantra. So if you posed what kind of things you were looking for, they may have a program internally that we just may not know about immediately that
Right.
they might be able to help.
Well,
There's
awesome. Thank you
also
so much.
I forget, a lot of times it's offered in the center, but also they'll have market boxes. So I know that there are some of the local farms that will offer online services that they'll deliver their weekly box as well. So very similar to going to the market, but it also is home delivery.
And
All
then
good
we have,
ideas. Much appreciated.
yeah, perfect. And then Linda, go ahead, unmute and ask your question. Or I see a hand up, Linda, maybe.
Maybe we answered it.
I don't know, maybe we answered it. Any other questions from people? Feel free to ask.
I have a question.
Go.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay. So you spoke about the fruits and vegetable needing to be used within a couple of days. Is it okay to or what would you suggest these fruits and vegetables, is it okay or best to put them in the refrigerator or leave them out? I'm just wanting to it's just myself and my husband. So I like the idea of being able to buy things in smaller quantities, but I'm just wanting to make as much use of a freshness of the fruits and vegetables as possible. So not just wanting to inquire about, putting them out or putting them in the refrigerator. What's best?
Sure. Definitely if it's gonna be quite a while, like end of the week or something, most things will probably go best in the refrigerator. But again, this is where I really recommend checking in with your grower or farmer for the specific foods that you're having. Because definitely some will have a longer shelf life, right? Things like sweet potatoes, butternut squash, spaghetti squash, those things are pretty hardy. They're gonna last a lot longer. Those can go in your pantry. Whereas, your cucumbers, your tomatoes, some of the fruits, those are going to need to go immediately in the refrigerator. I also really highly recommend investing in a set of produce savers if you can. My personal favorite, they're available not too expensively like at Costco. So these are specific containers that have ventilation systems that can help keep the produce fresher for longer. But again, I recommend asking if there's a food that you're really uncertain of. asking the person who grows it, because they're going to be the expert in the storage of that food.
Oh, okay, great. All right, thanks.
I figured out what was going on. Sorry about that, guys. There was a button I had to push to say that I agreed to the recording. And until I pushed that, it wouldn't let me unmute. So I apologize. I was trying to unmute when you guys were calling my name, and I'm like, it's not working. I just wanted to say that the lady that spoke 2 questions back, I had exactly the same question to the T. Also, going through stage 4 cancer, same thing. I got to the farmer's market twice, and halfway through, I was absolutely exhausted. And it was a very small market, though. I went to the one in Palm Desert, right off of Monterey.
Mhm.
And I did ask one of the gentlemen to help me get my stuff back. I think the homeless guy, and he was so nice. He's like, "Yeah, I'll help you put your stuff in the car." And somebody got me a seat near the coffee lady. So, they are really nice. But I think the idea of somebody doing a little shopping, you know, um, to the farmer's market, sort of like an Instacart, but not an Instacart, like a volunteer that you just pay directly. That would be so, so nice to have that option for the cancer patients. I don't know if Lucy Kirchie would be willing to set something like that up, but I know, I live in Sun City, and I just found out about something called Neighbors to Neighbors, where they will help you with certain things. So it's a possibility. That's one thing I could ask. But I, like the other lady, it seems like a privileged thing to ask, but at the same time, I find the fruits and vegetables from the farmers market last so much longer than any of the stores. I mean, the raspberries I get from the store are moldy right away. And the ones from the farmer's market, you get a week, or, at least a couple days longer out of. And I've had my lettuce last for weeks.
And I do think that maybe one of the most practical solutions will be checking in with the farms and see which one of them do the weekly deliveries. I know a lot of times some that are generally only doing the markets during our nicer season will do delivery boxes. They come out at least once a week or twice a week and bring them right to your home, because a lot of these farmers are providing large amounts of foods for restaurants. And so it's part of their journey that they're bringing out these boxes. So if you have a favorite farmer or things that you really like, I would check in and see what their weekly box availability is. Many of them, it's not quite as official. Some of them have websites to do ordering. So we have several local farms in the area where you can order those weekly boxes that will be either delivered to you or brought to like a common location that you just pick up the box. So that might be one of the more practical solutions, but I'm absolutely loving all this brainstorming, and maybe, we don't know, maybe that's something we can help facilitate in the future.
And just one more quick thing. They used to have apples at the Lucy Critchie Center when you walked in, and it was such a nice touch. And I noticed now there's no apples, and they said, yeah, we haven't had them for a while. And I just think if they had that bowl of fresh fruit when you walk back in there, it would be so, so nice again.
It's nice.
Great recommendation. I'll bring that up to the team. Jack, you had your hand up. Any question or an answer?
Well, just as an alternate resource, and I know that if people need in-home care or some assistance, and I don't believe they have a minimum. There is a nonprofit group called Elder Love, and I'll put their number in the chat. It is 888-336-8322. So they may be able to provide you assistance at a lower cost than some of the other caregiving organizations or businesses out in the community. So they are a nonprofit, and they do a lot of things to help. So I will put it in the chat, their phone number in the chat.
Amazing.
All right, great questions. We have still some more time. Anyone have some additional questions? Feel free to ask.
Great one so far. I love it. I love all the different thoughts and ideas that everybody contributes to this topic.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I noticed in the chat, and I've had this issue too. A couple people that I've called on lists from the social worker have said, like, if you're not over 65, we can't help you. And I'm 57, and I noticed the other lady, I think it was Sarah, said in the chat she's 51. And it's an issue because we may not be in the elder group, but we definitely, if we weren't facing what we were facing, we'd have full energy. But unfortunately, going through chemo and doing the things we're doing is taking it out of us. So, yeah, it'd be nice if they. Oh, somebody's writing something. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, just wondering if they only tailor to seniors. The elder love that you just wrote in there, Jack.
Different organizations have different definitions of seniors. And I don't think they, if you need in-home care or assistance, my understanding is that they will provide that at a low cost. And I don't believe that it is restricted solely to seniors, but that a call to them will help answer that question. And I think their website is elderlove.org.
Okay, I appreciate it. No, I just called one of the ride services and they told me it was only for 65 and older, no matter what your situation is. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that doesn't work for me. But I do appreciate that resource. Thank you so much. And also the box that gets delivered, I'll definitely look into that. Thank you so much.
All right. Any final questions you want to ask Johanna? These have been great.
Is this recording going to be available for us to see after the fact?
Yes. So it is recorded, and then what I do is later today, once it downloads, then I will send it for quick editing, and then we'll get it out by end of next week at the latest. It'll be sent out to anyone who registered. It will also then be sent to all of our partners, the senior centers, Jack's, the Joslin, Mizell, et cetera. And then we'll also have it posted on our Eisenhower Health YouTube channel and on our website. So multiple places, but it will be done within the next 7 or 10 days at the latest. All right. Well, with that in mind, if there's no more further questions, Johanna, anything from your side that you want to conclude with?
Thank you all for joining. I appreciate the interest. I love being able to share a personal passion of mine, as well as just some of the resources that are available in our desert and ways to help our community as well as ourselves just live our best, healthiest life. So thank you so much for your time today.
Muting myself. So thank you all. And Johanna, thank you so much for being here with us. Great information. And everyone, go out and eat healthy and hit the farmer market. There's one today, right?
Till 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Go, go, go. All right. Thank you all very much. And we'll be back in person at the Joslin Center in a couple of weeks for a lunch and learn. And then we'll be back on Zoom very shortly as well. Have a good rest of the day.